This is the pro webinar, the Forex forecast for the week of 5/8/17, and what a week it will be. I'm joined by my cohort and partner in crime, Mike Ficca. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
So listen, man. Last Friday was the NFP. Did you take some time off?
I did.
Yeah, so did I. I kind of chilled out. I put one video out and did a few small trades here just to kind of check a few things. But yeah, the inconsistency of the value of Forex is always crazy on that day. But it looked like we did pretty good on the signal side of it, and there's a lot of predictors in there. But I never trust any one thing for too long on the NFP, right? You get all these companies that are like, the NFP, I can trade the NFP every single time, and then the one time that you decide to do it with them, they just mysteriously lose at that point. So I don't trust any particular program because NFP always acts differently the moment you start trading it. I swear to God, it seems like. All right. So hopefully you had a great week last week, which ended up being a pretty short week. I rarely traded on Wednesday or Thursday. Didn't trade at all really on Friday, but had some great success throughout the week. I also built I don't know if some of you that are in the Forex system testing that, I painstakingly on Friday went in and grabbed all of our numbers from all of our wins and losses from the system for data for signals and had a look at it. I did it like I used to do the old data processing center by hand, and went in there and we saw some great success, some great forecasters. So it was pretty wild. Let's get started. Before we do, there's the earnings risk disclaimer. Freeze it, pause it, live it, love it. Okay. So the topics today are the network, Forex, and of course, lastly, base signals. We'll start now with the network. It's going to be a very short webinar today, so I hope not to keep you all too long so you can get in and start trading. There's some good opportunities to trade today, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Basically, as most of you already know that are already in the system, and those that are watching this after the fact, and even though that Mike is fairly new to the world of trading, he's also learned very quickly the importance of training and learning what those processes are. I guess when Mike first started, Mike, there was a lot of videos. I have a lot of videos out there, but in all actuality, you couldn't access training unless you paid for the system, right?
Correct.
Yeah. We quickly, a little while after Mike got here, we began to see a success, more of a success rate for those that would come on board, do all the training, right? They would come in, they would train, they would learn, they would train, they would do the whole process, and then they buy the signals. And we found more of a success rate when this pathway started to happen than with anything else. So we decided, well, let's give all of our free people, the people that come here for free, the availability to come in and learn about who we are and what we are. And so some figures started to appear, data, of course, success rates started to show. Those that followed the training and did all the videos and went through all the processes, I began to see started to be more involved with the network, be more involved with their trading, more involved with the successes and losses, being able to handle those particular things. I found also that they were more knowledgeable when you called and talked to them on a consult, and more understanding of the procedure of how to get from zero experience to making money. And those that just sort of skipped through, who didn't really pay attention or sort of just didn't really give enough to their own, were people that were leaving, that didn't work out for. It was just that I personally see that connection between those that really want it and those that sort of just want to push button. Do you see about that same thing now, dealing with the 5-minute people?
Yes, seems like that. Yeah.
And this isn't a detriment against the individual, because the individual has been trained by the world to act this way. We're too quick to get to the end of a video. That's why at the end of my videos, every video that I do, or every webinar I do, basically, when it gets to the end, I say the same thing just about every single time. For those that are watching this after the fact, thank you for getting to this part of the video. Because most people just skip to the end, or they all right, I know where he's going with this, so I'm out of here. They don't, and you don't have to listen to every word I say. But the dedication that you have to do the training, to be a part of these webinars, is very important. We may say only one little tidbit in a 1 hour session that you may really enjoy. But in most cases, that one tidbit, that aha that you get, can change your life. You agree with that statement, Mike?
Yes. Happened to me.
I am. It only took one time for me to have a conversation with Mike, to sit down and find out where was he at, what was he doing, you know, what was his mistakes that he was following through on, what was the same thing he was compounding every single time. And most of it all comes down to one thing. We begin to overthink the process before we even begin to train the process. And our dedication to our training is a direct result. The win ratio, how well you do, is a direct result from how much you do the training. I think before Mike got here, I don't think he had a connection with trading. He does now. He does now because
it just wasn't a good one.
You had a bad connection, right?
Yes.
You weren't trading the market was trading you, brother.
Yes. Well, okay. I was being taken at the time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The market was trading you, and that's, you see, this is what the market is comprised of, because the market isn't comprised of winners and losers, right? There's no winners and just losers. There's an ultimate part of inside this line, in between the winners and losers, there's this whole world. It's an interverse of things that happen. This is where the scammers live, right? And they live on both sides of it because there's scams on both sides. They can show you wins, but they're never going to pay you the money. And on the losing side of it, you get your live money going on. These are the managed scams, right? And these managed scams, they take your money up front and say, we're going to make it equal more money. And what do you usually see? Zero money. Okay. So inside this little introverse of things is mostly this happens due to what? Lack of knowledge. Or it happens because we as humans want something for nothing. We have a greed factor. And that greed factor sits and plays on our inconsistencies, and it plays on our wants and our dreams and our desires. It plays on that because they're that good. I said to somebody in one of the first webinars that I had done here on deck that the market itself, the industry itself, the network of trading is at best 50-50, right? I always say it's always 50-50, no matter what you're doing. Whether you have a 96% success rate or what have you, you're always doing a 50-50, either a buy or the sell solution, right? The human being itself is 50-50. Now, sometimes you can fall below 40% and get above 60%. And this is where you operate in your true manners, right? If you're down in this area, you just flip it, right? That's what we're doing over in Forex. But the concept of trading, and this is true with Nadex and all these companies and all these businesses and regulations and all that stuff, right? And the true trick to this industry is not how well can I always stay and be vibrating above 80%, or the amount that you need to be profitable, whatever amount that may be, 52 or 60 or 70%. But it's not getting tricked by looking away. Because if you follow only 1 to about 3 steps each day in your process, if your flow charts, if your flow system, okay, going in and trading whatever we have, whether it be base signals, the Forex system, 5-minute system, if you follow your system, if you follow the process, you will have a positive success rate, right? You'll be on the positive side, right? Once you get the system down, whether in 5 minutes or in dailies or in intradays, and you find the pattern for you, what works, right? Some of you are, and we get a lot of our members that find this pattern very quickly. It's the dailies with a working order, or it's an intraday using the double stow or stochastic and a MACD, or it's the SR max and using the MACD to get in and out or do reversal trades. Whatever it might be, they stick with it. This is what they compound on. And sticking with the process is the market's worst enemy. Right? This is where all the companies, whether they're regulated or not, right? If it's Nadex or Forex, if it's regulated or not, can they still hurt you? And the answer is yes. Because regulation means that they have to follow a set amount of rules. But here we go again. The rules are set in such a fashion, right? There's the right rules and the wrong rules, right? There's the, what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. Again, there's this introverse of these gray areas, right? And most of these things are made, like for Nadex themselves is an exchange, right? So they're not a broker. So they're supposed to say, okay, here's Nadex, here's you, here's the other trader, right? Now, we know who you are, right? You know who you are. You're the little guy who's got maybe several $1,000s or a couple $1,000s or even a couple $100, and you're about to trade this process for Nadex, right? And Nadex is just the go-between. These are the guys holding the money, right? These are the guys say, hey, if you're gonna have a battle, come into our business here. It's gonna be nice and safe. We'll make sure that we got a referee and all that stuff. And you guys are gonna fight. You're gonna fight who's gonna win this statement. So you say it's gonna be a buy, and then they have to do the opposite and say it's going to be a sell, right? And it has to be, for it to win, it has to be above this number, and for you, it has to be below this number. Okay? And you guys are going to fight. Now, when you guys do this, we're going to charge you each $1. You're going to get charged $1 when you start, and you're going to get charged once you start. And then whoever wins is going to get charged an extra $1. The loser, yeah, they're not going to get charged $1, but, that's the way it goes. Right? Unless you quit early, then you're going to get charged $1. And this is the way Nadex plays that process. But we're going to make a special time clock called the indicative price, and we're going to give it a certain price action and what it does and when you can get in and when you can't get in and all that stuff. But we're going to set what statements are available, not by us. Not Nadex doesn't set the statements. The other trader does. Now, for the most part, this trader is actually a market maker, right? And this market maker says that here are the statements that I want to provide for this side to be able to use. And then we choose which one we want to take a part of, when we then go into battle with. Right? And however we get to this point of making the broker, the exchange between the two, Nadex has their fingers into the process of being able to charge for the fees and all that stuff. And we think that this is so, I guess we could just sit there and think that this is the best system ever, because how could Nadex influence any of this stuff from just being an exchange? Well, remember, regulation prevents them from doing so. They can't play with the numbers themselves of the price, okay, of the market price. The market makers have to do that. The market makers have to make that exchange. But there's still certain things that the market makers can do by being at certain levels, by offering certain prices, by doing certain things, right? Pulling out all their processes out so the market price flips around and makes it look like there's a bad market price for it. There's just a lot of little things that can happen to a trade, to a process. Right? There's speculation whether or not live is the same as demo and all this kind of stuff. And we would love to think that there is some sort of secret underground organization through Nadex that's like taking our money. If it fails, it's got to be. If it fails, it's got to be something scamming. If it wins, then we don't know how long it's going to win for. We're just lucky. But that's not necessarily true. Could there be? Absolutely, anything could be possible. But the idea for us on how do we work this process is that we can't become as strong financially as the market makers do, right? So we can't get this to this level. If you are that level, then we need to talk, right? So what do we have to do? We have to be able to reach in and be able to grab our 5 to say 6 trades a day, maybe if this is really high for you, right? I'm usually about between 4 and 6, in this area, right? And we have to become consistent to then add our volume so I can get to my goal. Where these guys are like, let's just go after everybody, get whatever we can possibly get. But because we're dealing with another part of the company, which is Nadex, we're unsure where everything sits at for us as far as how many contracts we have to get, the price of the contracts, what's the relationship do they have with the market makers. There's some unknowns for us, right? Is live and demo exactly the same? Is the indicative price being fluctuated? Are they tipping the scale to the market makers? Oh, I lost in the last 5 seconds. Are they ripping me off, kind of thing? And we've all seen it. We've all lost trades in the last second, but I've also won trades in the last few seconds. So with every loser, there's a winner. That's the problem with a binary, right? For every loser, there has to be a winner, right? Nadex is the winner because they're right in the middle. They collect from the losers and the winners. But in order to have statements made, they have to have these market makers. They have to be pretty big. They have to be able to handle the money. So if we get a good system going, if you get a good process going, your 5 or 6 contracts that you're doing, or 10 contracts a day that you're doing, or however many you're doing a day, is that really going to affect that market? Well, if there's 5,000 of you in there, it probably would. If there's even 1,000 of you, it probably would. But really, it comes down to one thing. The only thing that I really care about is that I can train a couple hundred of you to go into Nadex and grab the money you need to grab. And if that doesn't work for you, if all the little components don't seem to add up and you can't make it all happen, we have other things you can use. Forex, your own indication. There's another universe that we have, and that's the Forex side. Because Nadex is pretty safe, right? Because they have stops on one side. They have a way of protecting how much money you can lose at any one time. Right? And in anything that you do with Forex, the biggest thing is creating your self-protection with a stop loss. One of the biggest things. Why I went off on that little tangent is because the training, dealing with other traders, being able to share your data with us, keeping a journal, helps us track the performance. And that performance shows us if these things are happening. Right? From Nadex to Forex to any of it. The data will prove itself. And that's why we reach out to most of you and ask you to do what we have you do. You think the 5-minute systems in there, all the data that we have in there, is just to sit there and look pretty? It's not. It's being utilized. It's being tracked. It's being looked at. I'm constantly in there checking all of the systems. So is Mike. Now, if you had the knowledge prior to getting ripped off, where would your life be now? If I had this knowledge prior to getting ripped off, I'd probably still be in radio. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I'd be. Where would you be, Mike, if you didn't get ripped off in the industry?
I'd have more money in the bank, but I'd still be doing what I'm doing.
You'd still be looking. You'd still be looking for the trade, right? All right. So let's talk about what the Forex educational system is. We're not going to get down into the load bearing of what it is on like the algorithm stuff like that. But I will let you know that the Forex side of it is starting to progress. And the reason being is that the more data we obtain, the more detailed pinpoint accuracy we can start to have. Because we're tracking the shit out of it. Because after we're finished here on this next session, we are actually going to be able to track through the database and a data processing center how many pips, and actual pips, not ranged pips, but how many pips each pair can move to an average. I mean, we're talking some pretty magnificent things that we're starting to see with the algorithm. Not because it can project what's going to happen, but almost like a lagging indicator itself, the data becomes a resource. See, because here's the thing. Most indicators, they track what is a price done at certain times, at certain things that it's done, right? When a certain volume, it can start to fall. When that volume increases, it starts to rise again. You do these things, right? And this is like a lagging indicator, if you will. Compared to what the signal system is saying, the success rate is how well did it depict this move? How well did it depict this move? And it then gives you its own success and failure rates at that point. Okay? And with that being said, they're both combined then. So we know, just like a forecast does with the weather, when this particular movement happens, our signals have always projected that it was still going to go up. So what do? When this move happens here on the market, we're going to project in the opposite and say it's going to be down now, right? So we can start to watch how the two interact with each other and just that much more information. I don't know too many companies that have that. The success rate of the signal compared to what the market actually does, and then compensate for that by giving you a way to navigate through the success rate like we do. The success is here and now because it's already been proven. It works. But just like with anything, you have a drawdown. And that drawdown is usually about 20 to 40 pips. Right? And that 20, 40 pips may not seem like a lot, but when it happens in your face in the day, it may seem like it, right? Because I know Mike had a bad day last week and then came back and killed it on Thursday and brought everything back at that point. So the drawdown can be remade very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Especially once you start adding volume to the process. And remember, you too provide yourself data on what pairs work the best. The data processing center is going to be very successful for us. Even right now, what I've created just from last week alone is powerful. Here, let me quickly show you. Let me see if I can real quick. Yeah, I'll just have to go here. Can you guys see my screen okay? Mike?
Yep.
Okay.
A little small though.
A little small. How's that?
Same small. You can't make it wider.
Can't make what wider?
That.
This? No.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
So basically, I took all the trades that happened last week, all the signals that happened, and I created if it was a positive algorithm, it was a negative algorithm, if it was a win or a loss, and I created it into this fashion. And we began to see almost immediately by the winningness of a session, okay? By the winningness during that session, what pairs did the best and what ones did the worst. Things like 100%. Now, just one or two at 100% is not that great. Now, on the winning side of it, if I stayed away from these things, I wouldn't have really known. We need to see what it is. 1 week does not complete a data processing center. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months worth of data would be then worth it. And we could see these things, that when are the highest and lowest winning ratios at certain times, for certain sessions, for certain pairs. Like we've seen that we got nothing won last week on any Audi USD during the Asian session, or the London session, I should say. But it kicked its ass in its own session of the Audi, or of the Aussie market. And we started to see these relationships start to unfold. And that's where the data comes in. All this data in here is very important to me. So I'm sharing it with all of you as we build this network together. And each week as this starts to unfold, I'll start to comprise more and more data. And then once we make it automated, you'll be able just to click on a button and see even before you get into a trade. So this will become part of your flow. This may even become, like on Monday nights or Sunday nights, you could sit down and go, okay, Audi USD, not trading this week. Crazy, crazy, crazy last week. Only did 33% through the US market. So I'm not even going to trade that. I'm going to trade the Audi JPY if it comes up. I'm going to trade it's almost like a recipe for yourself for the week. And you create yourself a little data sheet to say, okay, when these come up during these particular times, I can trade these. And so that becomes part of your system, if you will. There you go. So when it comes back down to it, the data we know is priceless, right? The next thing that becomes your advantage over anybody else is learning the solutions, how to protect yourself and your money management. Protecting yourself is your mentality. How do I protect myself from doing too many, Hail Marys, throwing that ball up in the air, waiting for it to jump down, You're not sure what the outcome is going to be. That 50-50 again. Learning how to prepare yourself for money management and doing things like the incremental crawl. How important is the incremental crawl, Mike, when trading for Nadex or anything?
Oh, it means everything. I mean, if you're consistent and you're looking to make more money, that is crucial
Right.
to the system.
And in that process, do you think that saved you from doing a lot of those, 3 or 4 trades, or 3 or 4 contracts on one and 4 on another and 6 on another?
Oh yeah. We all did that in the beginning. There's not a person in this room that did not do one. Oh, I lost. I'll do 3. Oh
Right.
crap, I'll do 8.
Yeah. Let me see if I can money management. Let me see if I can Martindale this thing back into its
Right.
submission. Right.
Exactly.
Now Martindales will work, but you have to be able to survive the drawdown, which is usually about 500% compared to the 3% here. But we learn through money management, because what do these things actually help you with? Greed. Because greed's the danger. Greed's the monster. It's the one that rears its ugly head and bites us off at the kneecaps. Well, we talked about the Forex system, but one of the most powerful things that we have that have been the most dedicated to the process has been the base signals, the dailies, the intradays, the NA intradays, and the SR maxes. Now, whatever one fits for you, great. If nothing fits for you there's the 5-minute system, and there is the Forex network. In all actuality, there's 6 major solutions for you at any one time. But one thing you always have to remember, and I said this in my last webinar too, is that you have to become whatever you are trading. If you're trading dailies, you get into that mentality. If you're a 5-minute mentality and you're trading dailies, you're bored to shit and tears. Sorry, Mike can trade the dailies every once in a while when he's bored, but if he's that 5-minute short-term mentality of trading, and he's good at it. Right? You wouldn't ask a fish to climb a tree. Basically, that's what it comes down to. So you have to find out what best suits you. But once you do, you have to be vigilant. You definitely have to be willing to trade that process and do so consistently. You have to be understanding of everything that there is of that process, from intradays, how they work, how they interact with each other, what things can you use to see them before they start to falter, the SR maxes, using the MACD, becoming proficient with using that. And once you do get to that point, then you have to be the strongest ever, because certain things set in. This is where we'll end today, is in the final notes. The things that usually set in are these 3 major processes. Boredom is your enemy. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how many times I heard, well, I was doing really well with the 5 minutes, or I was doing about $300 a day with the dailies, and I wanted to see what the 5 minutes could do. Why? Well, I got really bored doing the dailies. You got bored of making money? Amy and I just had an email, and maybe she can contribute to this as well. But Amy and I had an email just recently of a gentleman who wrote me and said, aloha, guess what? I really like a system. I have my own system out there that I'm doing, and I'm making a couple $1,000s a month. But I really want to see what your signals can do. Is that greed? The answer is yes. It is greed. If you have any system out there that's making you $2,000 a month, what do you do to make $4,000? I don't care if you're trading Forex or Nadex or apricots. You add volume, right? You're trading Nadex, add 10 contracts in. If you're already trading 10 contracts, trade 20. Anybody who comes to you and say, oh, I already have a system that I'm doing, but I want to see how this is, they're full of shit. And I'm not saying that to be mean to anybody, but I'm saying that because you may be tricking yourself. You may be pulling the wool over your own eyes, or you may be causing yourself even more damage by not being able to recognize what you have in front of you. And the ooh squirrel mentality, or shiny object syndrome, is your detriment. What are you prepared to be able to do to beat this back? All of it comes down from what we first stemmed: training, becoming vigilant. How do you decrease the amount of mistakes you do? You decrease them by training, by getting them out of the way, by screwing up in the beginning in demo. I love it when customers write me and they say, I was doing really well, and then I thought, let me give it a shot, and I'll go live, and then I lost all my money. I love that. I find that inviting, almost. I'm only kidding. I don't love that. I find it sickening to my stomach that somebody took that time and said, you know what? I already think I'm ready. I've been doing it for 3 or 4 days. I've done 10 trades. I think I'm ready to go live. Let me put everything I got on it. And you want to know why you fail. If you beat this back, folks, if you beat this boredom, the ooh squirrel mentality, the shiny object process happening for you, and you stick with one of the things that we have, or even if you end up leaving, you go someplace, you're going to eventually have to stop. And I just hope that you stop with something that will treat you right. If you don't beat this back, and you're still getting out there, just like we say with trading, the more times you trade, the more opportunity you have times to lose. The more places you go to, the more opportunity you get to that dude who's going to take all your money. Not about spending money on a membership. I'm talking about, hey, if you really want me to manage, I'll manage it for you. I've got the success. Look at all these happy people that I have. They're all so happy. Yay. It's all fake. Let me manage your system for you. You put $10,000 in this account, I'll make sure that it goes into $100,000. These are the words that we were told. And yes, we got faked out too. So the process for all of you is simple. Train. That's it. Get in there and train. Find out what you can do. Don't sit and wait. Ask the questions. Set the console. Talk in the chat. Take part in every bit of it. Because it's not just one thing in here that's going to make you a success. It's 200. 200 things to the root of success. Or it's 400. Some of you, it might even be 1,000. You have to be willing to go here to here to here to here to get to that success. But would it be worth it? Only you can answer that. Mike, got anything for me?
No, man.
Anything you want to talk about?
Nope. Right.
Okay, I know you've been suffering through bronchitis just like I have been. Mike caught it from you through the computer, even though we've never shaken hands before.
Computer virus.
Computer virus, right? But as usual, I'd like to thank everybody that's watching this after the fact for getting to this part of the video, because it does take a lot of effort to get through some of these webinars, but I'm appreciative that you're here now listening to me talk. For all of you that are watching this live in the chat room, we'll try to do a little bit of a questions and answers, but I do have to get going to get some other things done. That's why we're doing a short webinar today. But for the rest of you, train, train, train. Get yourself into that mentality of staying very focused on your training and work hard to get to your levels of success that you want to obtain. Because I can't get you there if you're not willing to do it. And if you're not willing to do the work, no matter how willing you are to get success, if you're not willing to do the work, you will never get there. And it's unfortunate. I want to see you get there. So we'll do whatever we can possibly do to help you. But you need to reach out too. All right, Mike, thanks a lot for hanging out with me. Everybody else, take care. We'll talk to you in a room here in just a second. And as always, I'm Max Farrow. This is DexTrader.com. Make sure you trade well.